Welcome to episode 12 of the Silver Savage podcast. This episode is brought to you by Masada Tactical. Masada Tactical is the only place that teaches authentic Israeli-based tactics in Maryland and surrounding areas. All classes are taught by graduates of Israeli and American Special Operations and Combat Units and sworn law enforcement officers. They have classes for tactical operators as well as civilians who just want to get in better shape while learning how to protect themselves and their loved ones. You can visit training.masadatactical.com for a list of all the classes and seminars. Use the code SILVERSAVAGE10 for 10% off when you sign up for one. This episode is also brought to you by the only apparel brand we recommend and the only one we use ourselves, Combat Iron Apparel. It is the highest quality apparel for fitness-minded patriots. If you want comfort while flying your colors and beliefs, visit combatironapparel.com and use the code SILVERSAVAGE10 to get 10% off your next purchase. Our guest today is Chris Stroup. I met Chris when I was searching for a knife maker to make a reality out of a design I had. Chris is the owner of Stroup Knives. Prior to starting his knife-making business, though, Stroup served 11 years in the Army. 8 of those years were in the SOF community as a communication specialist. He deployed 6 times and was awarded 2 Bronze Stars. He got medically discharged in late 2020. Join us as we chat about military, parenthood, and of course, knives. I started recording just because Chris was taking his clothes off. I figured that was a good opportunity.
You want me to keep going, or?
So, I love to you, brother. No, I used to use a microphone, and honestly, what happened is I think the pitch wasn't good. I need to figure out. Hey, stop it.
I have glitter on my arms.
Chris, Chris. I don't think you guys ever met or anything.
No, we have not.
So Steve is a former Marine, so he likes to eat crayons and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I've got lots of them right there.
I feel bad because Chris has he's in his shop, he has a microphone, headphones. I'm in my camper with nothing. I feel like like such an amateur.
I'm in a basement next to a crawl space in a rocking chair.
And you make it look good.
With a bottle of whiskey, though.
There you go. How else would you do it? So Chris, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me. This is cool. I've been listening to your show all day.
Have you? Did you find anything interesting there?
Oh yeah, definitely. All of it.
We had some cool guests, and we actually have some cool episodes we didn't drop yet, so I'm looking forward to those. But slowly but surely, it's been a work in progress. So I'm glad you agreed to join us.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to give a little brief of what I know of you, and then you fill in the gaps, because I don't know much. But what I do know is that I designed a knife probably 3 years ago, Steve. How was it? 3-4 years ago?
Yeah. Well, you had the concept in your head longer than that, and then you actually put idea to paper and actually designed it.
And I had some Chinese manufacturer make me a prototype, and it didn't feel right going with a Chinese manufacturer. So we're just holding off. And then a mutual acquaintance, a friend of mine, I don't know how close you know Scott, but said, I have this guy, he makes knife. We're on the same makers group. And he said makers, and I thought he's talking about Maker's Mark. And I'm like, awesome, that's a group I want to join. But then he said, no, it's makers, as in we make shit. So
you got to say his last name.
Scott Wiener.
Yeah, Wiener.
Yeah.
The Wiener.
He'll appreciate that.
I always refer to him as the Wiener.
I saw the knife you make for him. It was unbelievable. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I sent you the design. We chatted. I would say we hit it off and got a good relationship going. Knives have been absolutely amazing.
I can't wait to send you my design. It's going to be a challenge because it's going to be hybrid Puerto Rican kind of machete-ish handheld type of thing. Sorry, BK, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it. You usually do. It's all good.
I mean, everyone's designing knives, and after seeing your knives, Chris, I mean, they are phenomenal and beautiful. And me being, a Hispanic guy, not to throw any stereotypes out there, but I like knives, And so I definitely want to, I have some concepts to run by you. I've ran my own concepts through BK and stuff like that as well, but you're definitely the guy to turn to for that.
So Chris, when you and I first talk, right, I learned a little bit about you, and I'm going to have you kind of, again, introduce yourself and fill in the blanks. But one thing that came up is that you just retired, medically retired from the military at the time, and you were in special operations, and I thought that mix of the American special operations guy making a knife designed by an Israeli special operations guy was pretty cool. And I think, I don't know, I all the feedback I get is fucking that the knife is, it's a beast, man. It's absolutely a beast. I haven't seen anything like it out there. So I'm obviously a little biased. But Chris, how about you tell us a little bit about your story?
Which part of it? Where do you want me to start?
Well, Inception.
That was 34 years ago, April 6th.
All right. So where are you from? What you do? How'd you get into making knives?
Yeah, I'm from Sacramento, California, and I started my adult life working in construction, installing solar panels, and I was a manager at Lowe's when I was 19. And then I got bored because, you can only install so many solar panels before they're all the same. So I joined the Army, and my wife, I got married pretty young, told me I can't do combat arms. I was like, well, I'm going to war, so I got to find a way to make this happen. So I did a ton of research and talked to a lot of people, and everybody said, you could be a commo guy. That way, everybody needs somebody that can talk on the radio, and everybody needs commo to be able to talk to everybody wherever they go. So that's what I picked. And then I went to AIT, the initial entry training, and the people that I was training with just weren't what I expected. Most of them couldn't pass the PT test. They could barely pass their little tests that we had to take. They just didn't care. So I made it through it.
Israel, tell me a little bit about the process, because in Israel, everybody serves, and you start the process actually junior year of high school, and you kind of get channeled whichever way, depending on how you do on different tests. How does it work in the American military?
So you go to MEPS. I don't remember what that stands for, but they have MEPS stations all over the country, and your recruiter takes you there, and you take the ASVAB test to see what you're qualified for. And then you pick your job with your recruiter, and then you go back to MEPS, and they ship you out to basic training. So in the Army, everybody gets to pick their job. You go to basic training knowing what your job is going to be. In the other services, I don't believe it's that way.
Can you change your mind?
Yeah, you can. Up until you go in and swear in at MEPS.
Okay.
Because I was at first slotted to be some kind of aircraft structural repairer because it had a big bonus, but I just couldn't bring myself to do that.
Fair.
So I changed my mind. I don't remember how far along we were into the process. But then you go to MEPS, and then you fly out to basic training. And then after basic training, everybody goes to their AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training. So commo guy or fixing airplanes or whatever it is. And then from there, you go to your first unit. So my first unit was in Hawaii with the 25th Infantry Division.
Sounds miserable.
Well, it was a rough time in life, man, because I just got married right before that. Got to Hawaii. She got pregnant. And then we deployed almost immediately.
Why is there two Steves? I'm removing one Steve. I'm sorry.
She got pregnant.
You have two devices going, Steve.
Just got married and deployed almost immediately.
Audio's going crazy, huh?
Well, it's Steve's fault. He has two devices going on. Steve, you got to turn one off.
I'm having technical difficulties.
I'm kicking you from kicking. I kicked you out. Is this better?
That sounds better.
Yeah, I had to kick Steve out.
Hold on.
Oh, there you go. I'm muted, Steve.
Much better. Now I can hear my thoughts again.
Yeah, Steve, we can't hear you because I muted you because you're a Marine and you're trying to work electronics and it's not working. If I unmute you, do you promise to behave? All right, there you go. Are we good?
Are we back?
Steve?
No, he's frozen.
Don't worry about Steve. Yeah. So you went to AIT?
AIT, Advanced Individual Training.
Okay.
Yeah, that you just learn the basics of whatever your job is. So for me, it was the basics of how to operate radios and troubleshoot them and a little bit of computer things. It's just the basic stuff that everybody gets taught. And then I went to my first unit, and as soon as I got there, I was thrown right into pre-deployment train-up because we were getting ready to go to Iraq. So by about 1 year total in the Army, 2009.
Okay. So we're in the middle of the war at that point.
Yeah. So in 2010, I ended up in Iraq almost a year after I enlisted with a Cav Scout unit as a brand new private.
So
It was
that better than Hawaii? I don't know.
it's different. Being deployed is kind of fun. It's an easy life. You wake up and go and do your army jobs for the day, and then you work out and you eat 6 times if there's food available, and then you go to bed and you wake up and you do your army jobs and you work out and you go to bed.
Well, sounds like a pretty good life, I guess.
It's not bad. It's easy. There's less outside stresses, you don't have kids to worry about or really anything to worry about.
Do you mind me asking? Because a lot of our listeners are the people our age, and by our age I mean my age, and they're family men. A lot of them struggle with relationship issues. I mean, I've been through 3 divorces. I suck at this marriage game. I'm about to get married again, and I told my fiance that I get married one more time, but I'm not getting divorced again. One of us has to die, right? So I thought that was fair. But how did your wife, who told you not to go into combat arms, take you deploying, and how did you reconcile that?
Well, honestly, it didn't go well. Our marriage for 10 years didn't go well at all. And we had 3 kids together, and I probably should have ended it before it even started. But I joined the Army and I had a lot of fun. And
I hear you. I understand.
Yeah. So to keep that alive, I had to stay married. In a way, it was the comfortable thing to do, was to just be able to keep the status quo and stay married to her.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she just cheated on me like the whole time we were married and wasted all of our money.
Oh, that's not good.
No. And then eventually I caught her red-handed, basically, and left.
Okay, well, fair. Did you shoot the other guy?
No, he was 19 and she was like 33 with 3 kids. And so I just kind of felt bad for him. And he was trying to be me. I was away for Army work and he was living in my house and driving my truck, wearing my shoes and my watch. Ooh. Yeah, it was a whole thing. I just felt bad for him. I was like, you're such a cute little kid. You should just run. This is going to end poorly, man. Oh, I think he was terrified of me.
You're better than me.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to move on with life and start over and figure out how to keep my kids
out
of it.
Hypothetical question. What would happen if you walk in and you see your wife with another guy? What would you do? Like, do you beat him up? Do you shoot him? Do you walk away? What do you do? So I guess Chris's answer.
Yep, you move on.
All right. I guess the first thing I would do is download a dating app, call an attorney, and then go for my 50 caliber AE.
I'm gonna call Steve. That's the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna call Steve and I'll bring a shovel, acid, and a tarp.
Don't forget the lime.
Well, that's what I meant by acid, but yeah.
Same difference.
Yeah. So that happened all at the same time that I got med boarded, or decided to get med boarded from the Army. So in about a 2-month period, I decided to move out of my house with a duffel bag full of wet clothes, because I had just gotten back probably 12 hours earlier from a 6-week-long trip for the Army. Got home, my clothes were in the washing machine, so I just took them out of the washer and put them in this duffel bag that I had them in and left with nowhere to go.
That is amazing. But Chris, I'm going to stop you for a second because I feel like we skipped something. And I know there's stuff you can talk about, and that's cool. But you didn't spend all time in cavalry. You did some other interesting stuff. Did that shape part of what you're doing now as a knife maker?
Oh, 100%. So I loved being in the Army and the job. I just didn't love who I was doing it with and the resources we had. So okay. I wanted to go to the USASOC unit at Bragg, but I hadn't been in long enough. So I applied for 160th SOAR, the Special Operations Aviation Regiment. They fly all the cool black helicopters. I thought it'd be a good way to meet everybody that there is, because they fly helicopters for everybody.
Right.
So I applied, and then I eventually got accepted, and I went through their selection course, which was a lot of fun. Got to play in the dirt and beat each other up and shoot guns.
Sounds like the Marines.
Yeah. It's what I wanted in the Army. Oh man, yeah, we didn't have crayons. I don't think we had map markers.
It's close enough.
The dude next to me in the formation, Rex, was a Marine before that. Which sort of counts, I guess. Yeah, but I went to 160th SOAR and I got there, and it was okay.
Well, just for the viewers' pleasure, because there's some that are not military savvy, you didn't go there sore as in achy muscles. It's actually abbreviated SOAR.
Yeah,
SOAR. All right, I just wanted to clear that up.
Operations
Aviation Regiment.
Okay, that makes sense. And coincidentally enough, when I know a few people that serve there, and when I told them who makes my knife, I mean, we found out we had some mutual acquaintances and friends, and everybody's like, "Chris is making it. He's from my unit. Yeah, I'll buy 4." I'm like, sweet, cool. So that was awesome.
So I built a good reputation there. I worked really hard. I normally just work really hard because it just seems like the right thing to do. And it got boring, kind of like installing the solar panels. When I did construction, I figured out how to do it really well. And then I just did it over and over, and it got kind of boring. So I tried to find what the next best thing to do was. And there was only one thing left to do. So I had to apply.
And I think we all get the gist of that one. Now, let me ask you this. Would you consider yourself an overachiever?
No.
So you're just an achiever. This is your standard. And I find that's amazing. I think, Steve, because I just edited our 9th episode that's going to drop on Monday. And one thing that we mentioned there, and I think it's worth mentioning again, throughout all the people we interviewed, there's this thread of people that are, this is just not good enough. I need to do a little more. I need to go that extra step. And I think that, when we define a warrior or savage in the modern term, and the people that we want to associate ourselves with, that is something that's super important. That is lost on this new generation, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I guess kind of my mindset is if I tell my kids to do their best, then I have to do my best.
Right.
So if there's something better that I could be doing, I better go try it. If I don't make it, at least I tried because I know that I can.
Yeah.
So that was part of the biggest reason I had to apply and try out, because I can't tell my kids to do their best if I'm not doing my best.
I love that. And you know what? I always say my biggest parenting failure, I think, my youngest son was actually hitting my older son, because my younger son is a brute, and he's the one that I'm going to have to bail out of jail one day.
He scares me.
But I go to him and I slap him and I say, "We don't hit," as I'm hitting him. And I'm like, that was the stupidest thing I can do as a parent. And, so leading by example, that's the point I'm trying to make, is so paramount. And I feel a lot of parents nowadays are so detached. So, we see the youth of America, and we can't just blame the educational system. It starts at home.
And that's a whole, multi-level conversation we can get into. We as a lot of parents, it's easy to throw a kid in front of a TV or something like that. Like one of my rules, despite what I'm doing, whether it's burying bodies, making bombs, or just working on a project, if one of my kids comes up and says, "Daddy, can you help me?" or "Daddy, can you do this with me?" I stop, drop everything I'm doing, and I go do that real quick, because I know there's going to be times where I can't. So I try to do it as much as possible, almost like building a love bank. And that's actually something I read in a parenting book, building love banks. Yes, a love bank, essentially, so that when those times come where you beat your child like you did, it's not so bad, because you're love
parent and Steve is the awesome parent. I get it.
But just to go back and kind of to what you two were talking about, that whole warrior mindset, I think we apply that into parenting and we don't even know it sometimes. Like you said, Chris, where you're showing your kids that I can't fail. Like BK said, that warrior, there's that difference between a warrior and a fighter. One's driven by purpose, one by reason. And it's just within us to keep going and doing more and doing better and better and better. And we're just taking that same mentality and applying it to parenthood. So, sorry. Thanks for letting me share.
That's kind of what this podcast is. We just ate dinner, we're sitting on the couch, and I was like, "Hey, I got to go sit up for this podcast." And, "Why are you doing that? It's almost bedtime." Like, well, that's part of running a business and being a good human, is sharing our stories. And building our relationships and things. So even if I want to go to bed, I'm not. I'm going to get up and do what I need to, because that's what we do.
Well, and first of all, thank you, and we appreciate that. But that's the way our podcast has been working so far. It's, we go on these tangents, but ultimately, I would like to hope that all of our listeners kind of take little nuggets here and there. And if this little conversation about parenting just helps somebody, then we did our job, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, and I know we're not getting that deep into it. I've already been through quite a few therapists, but I didn't grow up with a dad. I didn't grow up in your picture perfect family, but it was my experiences in the Marine Corps and in the Army. I was in the Army National Guard after that. That gave
count?
me, huh?
Does that count? I'm asking Chris, not you.
It's like 50% credit.
Look, I don't disagree with you. It was like the Boy Scouts for men, I got attached to I tell this story 1,000 times, but to a British Royal Air Force Reserve unit. And they refer to themselves, like the British Special Forces is called the SAS, the SBS, all those, right? But they were calling themselves, we're in the SAS, we're in the SAS. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're like a reservist like me. He goes, no, not the bad dudes with the big muscles and the big guns. We're Saturday and Sunday. That's all we serve. I was like, oh. I was like, so I can see I'm in the SAS now. But
that's
anyway.
awesome.
Yes. But I totally forgot my other train of thought. So forward we go.
So Chris, you got medically retired after doing all this cool stuff and making the top echelon of the U.S. military. And now what?
Yeah. So like I said, in that same time period, I got separated from my ex-wife, was living on my buddy's couch and getting medically discharged all in the same short period of time. So luckily my command was really cool because I've deployed with all of them and I knew them really well. They let me do an internship at a real estate company. So I got my real estate license and sold a whole bunch of houses because, like everything, I don't halfway do it. So I just dove in head first. Here we go. Maybe the third month I was licensed, I had about 14 houses under contract. Put that into perspective. There's real estate agents that hardly can sell their first one or two in the first year. So I had I think maybe my record was 16 under contract at one time.
16?
Yeah. When you go into it, it's like, if you don't buy the house, I kill you. You're going to get a contract. That's how it works.
Yeah. So needless to say, I worked a lot and I learned. I made every mistake because that's how I learn. I just jump in and do. Full speed ahead. Here we go. But I was writing contracts all night, all weekend, all the time. My phone was always ringing. So it was, they also made me the team leader of the real estate team probably 6 months after I got my license.
That's outstanding.
I didn't know what I was doing. They're like, hey, you're a team leader now.
Fake
all right, let's do this. Yeah. So now I'm training new agents. And I'm a new agent.
That's awesome.
But they didn't know that because they didn't get there when I did. So they thought I was the senior guy. So just like always, yep. Fake it till you make it.
Yep. Sounds like the military.
I hated selling houses because that's all you do is you're just attached to the computer and the phone. So while I was doing that, I was starting to build the knife company and figure out my plan. And we squirreled away most of the money we made from all those houses we sold. That way we could jump into the knife business and not really rely on the income. Perfect. So from there.
Sorry, Chris. So why knives?
I was going to ask the same thing. Like, did you have a passion for them? Did you have a background in metallurgy? I mean, it just knives. No, I mean, you're not Hispanic in any way, are you?
Nope. Super white.
Irish?
Nope.
Nigerian?
And wait, come on. Like, no ethnic attachment to edged weapons at all. Japanese?
Oh, I wish. Their food is so good.
All right. I'm going to stop eating crayons now so we stay focused. Continue.
So why knives? How'd you get into it?
I was on a work trip, TDY in Army terms, temporary duty. And I had a lot of downtime waiting for things to happen. So I just watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos on how to make knives. And I figured I could do that.
Wow.
So against my ex-wife's wishes, I spent about $150 whole on a couple knife making tools.
That's not
She told me I'd never be any good at it. and
Oh,
that I
great.
shouldn't waste the money.
I'm going to piss my wife off now.
So
You
my
got the
oldest son,
961?
he might have been, I don't know, however old he was 5 years ago. That would make him 6.
Now you took your parenting from up here to like down here.
Yeah, you're good now, BK. He kind of trumped you on that one.
Right. At least I know how old my kids are.
He's 11, all right? My math skills just aren't good at this late at night. It's only 7 p.m., but it's been a long day, all right?
I am by the second getting more convinced you were actually in the Marines and not the Army. All right. So
You're certainly not Air Force material if you can't do it. Basic math.
No. But me and my oldest went out in the garage with this little hand file and a couple of really basic tools, and we cranked out our first couple knives all by hand. And I'd bring them into work, and guys were interested in what we were doing. So we slowly invested and learned and spent all this time and got some good mentors in the knife industry. I just like making things, and knives seemed like a cool thing to make because everybody around me liked knives.
It only fits the personality. So, that brings a couple of questions. First of all, you seem to get bored with a lot of stuff that you've done. Is there a cap in knife making? Like, do you see yourself 2 years down the road saying, I kind of reached the pinnacle of knife making. I'm going to find something else. I don't know. I'm going to build a tank.
I don't think so.
There's so many.
A knife tank. That sounds
a
scary.
tank with a giant spear knife, or just shoots knives.
Steve.
You started that. You said tank, not me. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
There's so many different parts of knife making and business in general that there's so many different rabbit holes to go down. So when I get bored with one thing, then I just move to photography or learning how to do Instagram better, or we started a YouTube page. And then we make a new knife design. I took a whole CNC course. My CNC machine is right behind me.
That's pretty cool.
I've never seen one in my life until I bought one.
That's a good way of learning.
So I bought a $10,000 CNC machine and paid for an online course and just dove headfirst into learning how to run the CNC machine. Now these handles come off the CNC machine with the design that I made. And it took me 8 bazillion thousand hours, but I learned how to do that with no background in learning anything to do with machinery.
Is there any difference between those handles and the ones, let's say, you put on the knives you made for us?
The 100 that we made for you, this most recent one, those were done on the machine.
Oh, really?
You didn't even notice.
I did not.
But they're all the same. So they're always going to be the same design that I make that we know is comfortable and functional.
Very cool. So you don't forge knife, right? That's different.
Yeah. We get them water jet cut. So there's a company called New Jersey Steel Baron we buy from, and it basically squirts high pressure water and abrasives, and it cuts the profile out.
Okay.
Again, for consistency. That way they're always the same.
Did you ever?
And that's awesome. Sorry, BK. Because after seeing your blades, they're phenomenal blades. And I think traditionally most people think that all cutlery or edged weapons are like forged or something like that. And I was one of them, but I didn't realize like the process you use is just as functional, just as phenomenal, just as strength. Like you said, the consistency, especially when you're mass producing, because that's what you want, consistency. I carry the Desert Fox for my personal carry on my operational gear.
That's what we call the knife you made, by the way.
Gotcha. I figured that.
So it's seeing your work, and when I first saw it, I'm like, wow, this is because I'm one of those watch Forged in Fire all the time, and I love that stuff. But I didn't realize there were other processes for it that are just as good. And that's what I'm getting at. It's not one or the other; they're both awesome processes for making knives.
Yeah, we got to a point we could either make a few really high-end knives, or we could keep our price point reasonable, and we can make a lot of them.
And you're not sacrificing quality, because I know your knife, for example, aside from Steve and I putting them through some torture tests just because we like knives, I know a few of our customers that bought them, and I think I shared pictures with you. We have one individual who bought the knife, went camping, was using it to chop, wood, use it for cooking, use it for everything. The knife is a tool. So that was part of my idea with the design was not that I don't think of a knife as a defensive tool. It can certainly be used for that, including this knife. But in my life, I never got to fight with a knife as much as I wanted to. But I need a knife as a tool all the time, as a pry bar to cut boxes, to cut through webbing, whatever it is. And that's really what we wanted to create. And that knife does that to the T. I mean, that thing did not lose its edge, and it was working phenomenally.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear. We put ours through pretty rigorous tests too before we let them leave the door.
So you have your own line of knives.
Oh, we make tons of knives. This is our mini right here. You guys can't see it if you're listening, but we have 5 of our own models, and then we have 2 collaboration knives. One already came out, and one's about to come out.
Can you share who the collaborations are with?
Yeah, the one that's already released is with EJ Snyder. Okay. He's an outdoor survivalist. He's been on Naked and Afraid 6 times and all kinds of other outdoor TV shows.
No longer afraid of being naked. It's been there for time.
Yeah, at that point, the fear of nakedness is gone, as if you've been on that long.
Yeah, definitely. So he's been a big advocate for us. He's connected us with so many good people to help grow our business, and he's a source of a lot of good information. I love EJ. He's awesome. Sometimes he lives in Fayetteville, so he comes over pretty regularly.
Nice.
But we made a big survival combat knife with him, and it's about 13 and a half inches long and 1/4 inch thick. It's a really cool knife. And then the other knife is...
Did you say 13?
Yeah, 13 and a half.
Yeah, if you were Jewish, it's like this big. And again, those that are listening and not viewing this on YouTube, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel now to see.
Hey, Chris, I'm curious, and you don't have to answer this question because this is your industry. You know, I'm not a knife maker yet. Thanks to you, I might have to dabble in it a little bit. I'll be your apprentice. And I can test them. I'm Hispanic. I'm good with knives. So there's no better person to test your knives than me. But when you look at the knife industry, I mean, you look at the firearms industry, there's so many firearms makers. For the most part, they don't look at each other as competitors, right? It's an industry where everyone kind of works together, right? Especially the veteran community, where that community that we can do work on a handshake. How is that in your world, you know, the knife making world? Because there are so many knife manufacturers out there.
The knife making community has been amazing to us. I think everybody has the same experience. I've gone to Spartan Blades. They're a big knife company in the area. They're half owned by K-Bar now. So they're one of the big time knife companies. And I'm lucky to have them about an hour from us. And we go there probably once a quarter, and they answer every single silly question that I have. They show me their spreadsheets and they have no secrets. They just show us how to be successful.
That's
and
awesome.
From them, what they told me is that, hey, look, we're not competitors. If you make a good knife, people are going to buy it. They might not buy your knife this month. They might buy it next month. But if they like your knife, they're going to buy all the knives that they like.
And I wish more industries people thought in that manner. I mean, we're instructors, right? We're in the tactical training world. And it's such a pissing competition. Everybody thinks their tactics is better than the other one. And Steve and I, you know, with some of your colleagues from your previous units, we always have the mindset of, I teach my style, you teach your style, and the two do not necessarily bump heads. They may augment each other. The client may take something from me and something from you. The market is big enough for everybody. But I feel like, at least in our industry, people are afraid to share. So it's good to hear that in your industry, at least, people are more open and collaborative in that sense.
Yeah, it's been just amazing. And I give back also. I try and invite every knife maker in the area over and show them what we're doing, give them tips and little tricks. And if I have extra materials around, I give it to them. Whatever we can do to help, because so many people have helped us.
Awesome. So one of the things that you started doing recently, if I saw correctly, is with your channel and so forth, you actually started talking about entrepreneurship and small business and how to grow that. So how is that going?
It's slow going. It takes a lot of effort. So we're just getting started, but there's a lot of videos on how to make a knife and how to make a thing, but there's not a lot of videos on how to manage a business that sells the thing. A knife is just a thing, right? The business is pretty much the same for all of the different things. You can, you know, be it a tactical training course or a plaque or a whatever. It's just a thing. So a lot of people can figure out how to make a knife because there's tons of videos on how to do it, but they don't know what do you do after you sell it? Or I guess after you make it.
Right.
How do you I can make one knife, now what? Well, you got to either make a really high quality knife or you got to make a whole bunch of knives.
And is it mostly lessons learned by you? Is this is what I tried and worked, and this is what I tried and didn't work? And
Definitely. So I have a bachelor's degree in business also.
of course you do.
You're definitely not a Marine now.
Yeah. So I did that. I finished it right before I got out of the Army, luckily, on my last deployment.
Very cool. So you're using that knowledge combined with your practical experience now?
Yep. And the experience that I've learned from all the other people that I've been able to talk to and learn from. So it's kind of the combined experience. And I want to grow this channel that can teach people how to do what I'm doing. And then as we grow, to be able to teach them more and more. And eventually I want to write a book about it once I have enough, experience.
See what's throughout your
lessons
book. There'd be a lot of stick figures in it. But
I can put some of those in there for you.
It's funny. I had breakfast today with a colleague, with a friend who we're again business talking and whatever. We both agreed that we probably thrive or work the best when we are being under someone's mentorship and when we get to mentor somebody else. So, I always seek to grow. Yesterday I posted something on LinkedIn. I'm looking for someone to mentor me on finances. I know nothing about finances, and I'd love to get someone to teach me, coach me in that sense. But I also like teaching others. I like mentoring others. So if it's a small self-defense or martial arts school that wants to start, then, I had the opportunity now to mentor a few people in that sense. So I think there's a lot for our personal growth that goes with teaching others.
Yeah, I agree. When you teach somebody, you really have to analyze what you're doing.
Right.
It makes you think about why you're doing certain things. And sometimes you come up with better ways just by teaching them.
In your company, it's not just, the umbrella of veteran owned or small business. You also have family owned, right? So it's you and your second wife now, right? And your kids, you all actively participate in making these knives, right?
Yeah, definitely. So my wife, she does all the shipping and the marketing and a lot of the outward talking to our vendors and things like that. And then the kids, especially during COVID, they were in the shop a lot more when they didn't really have school. But now they don't get home off the bus until 4 p.m. So I try and be done working by the time they get off the bus. But
Cool.
They know how to do a lot of the tasks, and they help us. Even silly things, we'll sit around and watch TV and assemble our product boxes because they come as a flat thing, kind of like a pizza box, and you got to assemble it.
Right.
So they help us assemble the boxes and put the little crinkle paper and the stickers in it. But they'll come out to the shop and help oil the knives and take tape off of things and put belt clips on and do all kinds of things. So we're trying to teach them how to run a business, not necessarily a knife business, but any business.
Yeah, work ethics.
Yes.
They probably ate me because they had to do 100 boxes just for my order.
Oh, we're working on a 190 knife order right now.
Oh, well, great. Now I'm going to have to up my game.
Oh, I'm coming with my design, so
It'll be a Masada too.
Mhm.
That is outstanding. So, are you going to be at Blade Show in June?
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay, in Atlanta. That's awesome. We're going to try to be there. So,
Oh, cool. We're going to be right by Spartan Blades.
Of course, but it makes sense. No, but maybe we'll have to bring some of the Masada knives and put those, so people can look at them. So what's in store? What's the plans for you recently during some text conversation with you? You said you're working on a few big things and you're excited about 2022. So can you share some of the things that what's in store for Stroup Knives?
Oh, we got all kinds of things going on. Let's see. We got that second collaboration knife that we got going is going to be with Justin Melnick from the TV show SEAL Team.
Yep.
He's the dog handler.
Yep. I have a picture with the machacho.
Yeah, him. Yep.
Right.
I've never actually met him, but we talk regularly on the phone and FaceTime and stuff.
Well, tell him that the Israeli guy ran into a chacho says hi, because it was the first day. My fiance and I like the show, and we like his character specifically because she's a dog person. So, canine handler. So I go into him and like, do you mind if we take a picture? My fiance is going to die that she's not here right now because she was planning on coming. And he asked me where I'm from. I said, Israel. So he started speaking to me in Hebrew. And I thought out, yeah, exactly. That was my response. I'm like, what the hell? It wasn't like a whole conversation, like, how you doing? Or something like that. But It was pretty cool. It was super down to earth, super nice. It was there with the one puppy, I think Piper, but I'm not sure. I may be wrong because he has two of them. So you're doing a collaboration with him. That's great. So what kind of knife
Yeah.
is he making?
It's a knife meant to go on his kit.
Okay.
It's a little pokey stabby knife. It's
Nice.
going to be
That's gonna
great.
in the show?
What he's going to carry it on the show. Yeah, he's going to start carrying it. They start filming the next season here in a couple weeks. I forget when it airs, but when it does, the knife is going to be on his kit. So we're getting ready to launch that one in about 2 weeks.
That's outstanding. Well, I'm super excited for you, Chris. It sounds like you accomplished so much from the first time I spoke to you through the first, order, and then the second one, and to where you are now. I love following you on Instagram. If people want to follow you on Instagram, where should they go?
Stroup Knives, Stroup Knives.
And I realize I mispronounced your last name this whole episode, but that's okay.
You got an accent. I'll just chalk it up to that.
Yeah, that Canadian accent of his.
So Stroup Knives, Stroup Knives. And any other social media that people can follow? You said you had a YouTube channel, right?
We have a YouTube channel. It's the same thing as our Instagram. And then we have a website, which is also the same, stroopknives.com.
That keeps it simple. That's awesome.
I got bad memory, Keep it easy.
Awesome. Actually, I have a question that before we let you go. So I asked this to all of our guests, again, being a savage, right? And you being former military and you in a world that, for intents and purposes, you're making weapons, right? What is your routine? I know you work out, you go kayaking, you do a lot of outdoor stuff. I may be stalking you on Instagram, I'm just saying. But
I think I just started stalking him.
But what's your routine? What do you do? Do you do some defensive tactics? Do you shoot? How are you maintaining your savage warrior?
Wait, do you stalk me on Instagram or in real life? Was that you in the trees?
Does it matter?
No. Yes.
I love shooting and kickboxing and fighting and doing all the fun things, but it hurts. My body is pretty tore up these days. So every morning I get up and I hang out with the kids and help get them ready for school. And then I work out with my wife. We have a nice gym in our garage. And we live on 6 acres and it's kind of hilly. So some days we just put weight vests on and go wander around in the woods for an hour.
That's awesome.
And then that brings us to 9 a.m. when all of our employees start showing up at the shop, which is 30 feet from our house. So as we're finishing our workout, they're getting here. And then we make knives until 4 o'clock when the kids get off the bus.
That's awesome.
And then we try and be done working at 4 o'clock, but you know how that goes running a business. We normally finish working about 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, look at us. It's 7:30 and we're all still working, right? This is work. I mean, it's fun, still work. Do you find your work to be manual too, making knives?
Sometimes, especially working on the bigger, heavy knives, it gets a little tiring, I guess. It's a shoulder workout to sharpen a big, giant knife. You're holding it out in front of you, trying to keep it at a precise angle, and you're on your feet all day. But it's not too bad. As long as I work out regularly, my body lets me do it. If I start slacking on my workouts, my hands don't work right, and my neck hurts, and my hips and back and knees. So I got to keep the old body parts moving every day. So it serves a lot of purposes to work out for me. It's the mental aspect of it, the physical fitness. You have to look good naked.
You have to. I mean, that's rule number one in a gunfight. Look cool.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the primary reason I work out, is to look good naked.
Yeah, because you never know when you got to run out in the middle of the night and take out an intruder. And we know someone that has.
Jeez.
Naked.
And shot the guy and killed the guy. And we, to this day, trying to figure out if the guy died from being shot or seeing him naked.
That's facts. And I do have some questions, BK, if when you're ready.
Oh, you have questions for Chris? That's awesome.
I do.
So before you get to your question, Chris, do you ever do any knife fighting?
No.
Okay.
Just a little bit of training in the military, but nothing too serious.
It sounds like something that would be a good match with what you're doing. But
yeah, I would love to, but everything hurts. Those kind of things. So
you're at that point. If someone pulls a knife, you're just going to shoot them.
Yes, 100%. Yep. I just
So
don't
we-
let people get that close.
right? So we usually finish these shows with Steve having a little trivia for a guest. We'll try to make it specific for each guest. So, Steve, go ahead.
So, knives. I mean, I know, this was something you just got into. It wasn't a lifelong pursuit, but still fun trivia on knives, right? We throw trivia on everyone. So this is for everyone, BKU, just fun. So your first question, the longest recorded kill by throwing a knife, which was during World War II, was how many feet? And I'll give you a clue. It's between 60 feet and 90 feet.
You could throw a knife that far? Holy cow.
I guess they work in the shoulders a lot more than you do. I'd say
You
69
know?
just because it sounds fun.
69. Well, that's my zodiac symbol, so I appreciate that.
I have to outdo BK, so I'm gonna go with 73.
All right, you got the closest. So it's kind of like Price is Right, so you win. It was 87 feet.
Jeez,
during World War II.
That's
All right.
impressive.
Next question,
and
that was a kill.
You know what kind of knife was it?
I do not know. It's more than likely some kind of like bayonet.
Yeah. I'll be for a bayonet. I'm gonna have to research that one.
Like this.
Oh, it's small.
All right, next question. Traditionally, why do sumo wrestling referees carry a knife?
In case they have to cut a diaper off the sumo wrestler.
Because they're too fat
that
to
would
be able
be a
to.
logical answer. Nobody. Because they are prepared to take their own life if they make a bad call.
Ooh. Wow, that's commitment.
Yeah.
That is commitment.
Yeah. All right. So last question. Swiss Army knives. So famous, everyone knows them. What part, which tool within the Swiss Army, utilitarian knife is not made in Switzerland?
The toothpick.
The scissors.
No and no.
The corkscrew.
The corkscrew. It's made in Japan.
Nice.
There
Chris
you
found that
go.
one.
Little knowledge.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. We won't hold you too long. You can go back and enjoy your kids. We keep pushing your stuff, man. We love it. I appreciate everything you've done to help us get my design off the ground and get it out there. So I'm super appreciative personally. And lots of success with everything you're doing, man.
We're trying. Thanks for trusting us in the beginning. When you told us you wanted 100 knives, we about pooped our pants. Like, we're going to figure this out. We're doing it.
You did it awesome, and they came out great. And it's been a learning process. Second batch, the knife is the same knife, but just a little more refined. The logo etching is a little better. The boxes are a nice touch.
And those red handles are
the
phenomenal.
red handles are hot.
Yep. We're getting there, one step at a time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. I'll talk to you later.
Pleasure to meet you, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you again soon.
Yeah, I hope you guys make it out to Blade Show. That'd be awesome.
I'm planning on being there. I'm getting married the weekend prior, so that's the only thing that may kind of hinder that a little bit. If my fiance and now future wife maybe she'll come with. I don't know. She likes knives. She has two of your knives.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. Take care, guys. Good night.
All right, have a good night. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Silver Savage podcast. Please go ahead and give our podcast a like, share the link with a friend, and help us spread the word. You can follow us on social media as well. Our Instagram handle is silver_savage45. You can also find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course YouTube, where you can watch all these episodes videos as well. Until next week, go be a savage.